Irish guy, and yeah, pretty simple one this. I'm gonna find every Premier League club's one former player who just made a really weird transfer this summer. I know most of you like to forget about former players. I mean, the same way that a fat old divorced man likes to throw his ex-wife's clothes in a bin. But still, alright, listen, some of these moves are just very weird. Right, let's go. Arsenal, MESUT OZIL to Istanbul Basaksehir. Okay, there's a few former Arsenal players who've made some wacky cartoon moves this summer. I remember David Ospina, you know, the former Arsenal backup goalie who has over 120 caps for Colombia. Well, clearly he's decided to drown his footballing ambitions in a lunchbox drenched in cat piss, ditching his job as a Napoli #1 to go and just move out to Saudi Arabia with Al Nassr. I mean, he just blatantly swapping career pride and dignity for a suitcase stuffed with cash. I mean, who else? Henrik Mkhitaryan. Someone who's mostly been a washed up lump of cheese for nearly 7 years now. And yet, he's still getting a freebie switch to Inter Milan. Reuniting with Romelu Lukaku? I don't get it. I mean, remember Gervinho, the £20 million flop who was clearly 80% forehead? Honestly, if he was ever lying on the grass eating a picnic, he'd probably have had pilots trying to land on his face. But oh yeah, he's age 25 and has just moved to Greece to play in a team with Andre Gray. Sounds about as exciting as if you were to chew off his granny's face. But the weirdest one, lads, MESUT OZIL was a guy who left Arsenal and was supposedly going to retire at his dream club Fenerbahce. But instead, he's been frozen out again, and this time he was sacked. And so, within 29 minutes of his contract having been ripped up and probably fed to the cats, he's decided to join their city rivals, Istanbul Basaksehir. And Christ, well, continuing to live in Istanbul. I mean, MESUT, next time you go for your haircut, you're probably gonna have an angry Fenerbahce supporting barber trying to cut off your ear with a knife. I mean, next time he tries to use a petrol station, he'll probably have some angry Turk throwing a dead pig at his car. So yeah, that's probably the weirdest move from an ex-Arsenal player. Although, I think we're all looking at Aaron Ramsey. I just know he's gonna do something weird in August, like move to Switzerland. Aston Villa, Pepe Reina to Villarreal. Pepe Reina is still going. This guy was playing in goal for Barcelona 22 years ago. I mean, this man's nearly 40. In my head, this fella would surely just be some washed up pizza stain, maybe getting flushed out to the MLS. But lads, he's moved back to Villarreal 17 years after quitting them for Liverpool. Honestly, it's like J-Lo getting back with Ben Affleck. You know, when they both have a lot more wrinkles in their face. Honestly, give it 10 years and they'll both look like lumps of broccoli. But considering Villarreal have just moved on their Europa League hero and club legend Sergio Asenjo, yeah, well, he's quit the club for Valladolid. So this isn't just a romantic swan song for the bench. No, Reina, a man who next month will be blowing out the candles on his 40th birthday cake. Someone who probably gets stomach cramp in the shower and who likes to relax with a newspaper and a pipe. He is now Unai Emery's #1. Mental. Bournemouth, Josh King to Fenerbahce. I'm kind of sad that I can't include Jack Wilshere here. I would love to have seen what wacky move he'd have made if he left Denmark for another club, honestly. I have expected to see him being unveiled to 20,000 people, serenading him at an airport in Cyprus, Singapore, or Trinidad and Tobago. To me, this guy could have spent his 30s traveling the world and becoming a nationwide superstar in tiny little nations. Honestly, instead of babysitting the Arsenal children, teenagers who probably have big fat Instagram accounts and egos so big that if you dared ask them to clean their own dishes in the canteen, they'd probably get offended and ring their daddy to complain. But instead of doing that coaching job, I'd have liked to have seen Wilshere become a superstar in Bosnia or Togo. But no, instead, let's pick Josh King. It's mental to think it was just 2.5 years ago that he was on Man United's shopping list. I mean, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was actually sanctioning a £20 million bid, and it's official. That man had a brain made of cake. After barely sniffing out a goal at Everton or Watford, he's now 30 years old and moving to Fenerbahce, just being the next Colin Kazim-Richards. I mean, brilliant transfer for him, but Fenerbahce? It was only a few years ago you were signing Robin van Persie, so reducing yourselves to this? What? Brentford, Andre Gray to Aris Thessaloniki. Again, just weird. Andre Gray, discovered by Brentford, blew up at Burnley and flopped at Watford. This former £20 million striker is now 31 and playing in Greece. He's just moved to Aris Thessaloniki FC. I mean, to be fair, his only other option was Preston North End, and clearly he'd rather eat bird poo with a fork. I mean, Gray in Greece, playing in a strike force with Gervinho, it just seems weird. I mean, look at the kit he's wearing. It's like he never left Watford at all. Brighton, Aaron Moy to Celtic. Celtic are going to sign former Brighton favourite Aaron Moy. You know, that energetic midfielder that looks a bit like if Gollum had cleaned up his act and gone to rehab. Listen, Moy is an Aussie midfielder who's actually played in Scotland before with St Mirren. So yeah, this isn't that weird. What is strange though is that they're buying him from Shanghai. I still can't understand why at the age of 29 he stuffed his Premier League ambitions with Brighton into a pooey sink just to go and live in a Chinese village and spend the next 2 years eating spring rolls with a stick. I mean, he was sharing the same dressing room with Oscar, the perfect example of a sublime Chelsea talent who semi-retired at 25. Honestly, going into work every day and seeing that miserable face of Oscar the Grouch, and that just must have been depressing. You know, a bit like sharing a jail cell with a pop star. Just wasted talent. Chelsea, Nemanja Matic to Roma. Jose Mourinho has just signed Nemanja Matic for a third time. Listen, this seems weird, yes, but it's actually a clever sliding. Matic turns 34 in August, yes, but he's got experience, can still play in midfield, and it's only on a 1-year deal. And these sort of players thrive in Serie A. This move actually makes sense. But yeah, it is a bit weird that Mourinho has now signed him 3 times. I mean, I didn't realise he liked him that much. Crystal Palace, Steve Mandanda to Rennes. Lad, 2 years ago, Rennes had Edouard Mendy in nets. Now, they've got a nearly 38-year-old Steve Mandanda. You know, the former Crystal Palace flop. Listen, this guy does have 34 caps for France, so put some respect on his name. I mean, clearly that 9-game disaster at Sellers Park was a fluke, and no, he doesn't actually have spaghetti arms, but it is a bit weird to see this guy play for a Ligue 1 team that isn't Marseille. Cause lads, he played over 600 games for the club. He has never played for another team in League 1. He just had a couple of seasons for Le Havre in League 2 back in 2006. So honestly, when he's forced to play at the Stade Velodrome against Marseille in September, he's probably going to be sitting on the bus to the game, hyperventilating into a shoe. Everton, Romelu Lukaku to Inter Milan. Of all the Chelsea strikers who have been destroyed by the Stamford Bridge curse, I really did not think that Romelu Lukaku would have been one of them. I mean, a year on from his £100 million move to Chelsea, and the former Everton goal machine is back at Inter Milan for just a £7 million loan fee. Surely hands down the worst Premier League transfer of all time. I don't get it. This man is guaranteed goals in any league. And it was only a couple of summers ago that Man City were trying to wrestle him out of the San Siro to see him at the age of 29 be given a loan deal. And it's his first loan spell since 2014, and this is his 3rd loan away from Chelsea. Just like when you wet your bed age 15, this should really not be happening to you anymore. Not at your age. It's just a bit weird. Fulham, Luca de la Torre to Celta Vigo. Yeah, not many former Fulham players have moved house this summer. I don't know. They did have an American wonder kid, Luca de la Torre, on their books for 7 years. Supposed midfield superstar, right? Yeah, well, he's just left Dutch football for Celta Vigo in La Liga. I mean, to be fair, he'd be playing alongside a Spanish baller like Denis Suarez, who admittedly was, mostly pigeon sick in England. But, yeah, good move, I guess. Leeds, Danny Rose to Tottenham under 23s. I don't understand just how quickly Danny Rose's career was suffocated in a McDonald's burger bag. Lad, it was only 3 years ago. He was playing in a Champions League final. And the previous summer, it was a World Cup semi-final. This was a guy storming into Jose Mourinho's office and demanding a move to AC Milan. But Rose, he has since massively flopped at Watford, to the point where that club, despite being relegated, I mean, they don't even care that, well, apparently still being under contract, he's just playing for Tottenham under 23s, despite, you know, being 32? Again, that's a bit like seeing Thogdad hanging around some playground swings. A bit dodgy, that. But lad, Rose is still a Watford employee, but, I mean, they just don't care. They don't seem to want to acknowledge that it even exists anymore. So I guess the main takeaway from this is that Jose was right. Leicester, Fusuni Diabate to Partizan Belgrade. I don't know, former Leicester flop, 26-year-old Fuseni Diabate just left Trabzonspor for Partizan Belgrade, but I mean, does anyone even care? Liverpool, Raheem Sterling to Chelsea. This is a bizarre transfer. Lads, Raheem Sterling is a man whose CV just looks perfect. Liverpool, Manchester City and Chelsea. Currently, those are the top 3 teams in England. I mean, how often do you see one player bounce across all 3? I mean, it's a bit like how Zlatan Ibrahimovic has both Milan clubs and Juventus on his CV. What's strange though, is that these sort of transfers never happen anymore. Man City, Rabi Matondo to Rangers. Rabi Matondo was supposed to be the next Jadon Sancho, right? Another tricky winger in the Man City academy, and he was born in Liverpool, so eligible for England if he was any good. But he also quit the Etihad to go and move to the Bundesliga with Schalke. Well, Schalke have since gone up in flames. He since had a pretty nothing loan move to Stoke, was in Belgium last season, and now at 21, he just got himself a 4-year deal at Rangers. Listen, it's a nice move. I mean, he's joining the Europa League finalists. I mean, he's not exactly relocating to live in a teepee on a beach in Latvia, but it's not exactly Sancho Part 2 either. Man United, Angel Di Maria to Juventus. Angel Di Maria is carving out the most perfect CV. This guy last season was to be linked with Wolves. Yes, Wolverhampton Wanderers. But now, he's got a European giants like Benfica, Real Madrid, Man United, PSG, and now Juventus on his CV. I mean, he's also spent the last 5 years being hunted down by Barcelona. Chucking the fact he's got 122 caps for Argentina, has played with both Messi and Ronaldo. What a career! Everyone thought that when his Manchester house was robbed, that he was now just a broken, traumatized, quivering house elf banished to France. Well, 93 goals and 119 assists for PSG later, and he's still able to command £125,000 a week mega monster wages from a giant like Juventus. And he turns 35 soon. I mean, hands up. At this age, how many of you expected to see him slumming it in Turkey by now? I mean, at Manchester United, he had about as much appetite for football as an elderly pensioner with no teeth. So this career rebirth, it's amazing. I mean, this transfer isn't that weird. It's just, I'm impressed. By the way, quick mention for Federico Makeda, for anyone who remembers him. He's just now signed for Ankaragu in Turkey, where he's going to be playing up front with that PSG flop Jesse Rodriguez, but also Swiss striker Eren Durdiok. Does anyone remember him? Anyone? Come on, tell me I'm not crazy. I mean, Kevin Keegan spent the summer of 2008 obsessed with a move for him, and I literally haven't thought about him since. Does nobody else remember Durdiok? I mean, write in the comments if you do, because right now, I just feel like Tom Hanks shouting at a pillow. Newcastle, CHANCEL MBEMBA to Marseille. CHANCEL MBEMBA is still only 27. Considering he was relegated with Newcastle 6 years ago, did anyone expect him to be about 34 by now? This fella was billed as the next wonder kid. Vincent Kompany sent it back for Anderlecht. And then Premier League failure sort of killed the hype, and especially when losing his place in the Championship to Grant Hanley. I'm not sure what happened there. Was CHANCEL caught stealing Rafa Benitez's lunch? I would imagine if you confronted Rafa in the canteen queue to take the last slice of chocolate cake, the Spaniard would probably cut the brakes of your car. Anyway, Mbembe is still going. He just left Porto for Marseille, and he's now going to be playing under Igor Tudor, someone who has not actually lasted an entire year in any of his last 7 coaching jobs. He's had 8 management gigs in total, and has only ever celebrated 1 anniversary. So what do you think is going to happen here? He's a walking sack magnet, so this season is going to be chaos. Best of luck, CHANCEL. Nottingham Forest, Oliver Burke to Werder Bremen. Remember when Oliver Burke was Nottingham Forest wonderkid winger? Lads, in 2016, he was being chased by Man United and Bayern Munich. He was even sold to RB Leipzig for £13 million. But since flopping at West Brom and Sheffield United, I did not expect him to return to Germany. But yeah, he's been snapped up by newly promoted Werder Bremen, a club who historically have had attacking talent like the likes of Diego, MESUT Ozil and Serge Gnabry. So what business do they have buying Burke? Southampton, Gareth Bale to Los Angeles FC. Yeah, Gareth Bale at Los Angeles FC. Considering he's only 33, and he's only signing a 1-year deal to play in a team with Carlos Vela and weirdly Giorgio Chiellini, then yeah, it's a strange move for a guy with 5 Champions Leagues. Tottenham, Toby Alderweireld to Royal Antwerp. Toby Alderweireld was Manchester United's #1 centre-half target under Jose Mourinho. I'm guessing if he had gone to Old Trafford, there is not a chance in a baby goat's belly button that Alderweireld would still be a Man United employee. I mean, he is so finished it's untrue. I mean, leaving Tottenham for monster cash in Qatar made financial sense. But now, you've just signed for Royal Antwerp, and at just 33 years old. I mean, sure, they've got a high-profile boss in Mark McBommel, but I'm sorry, Toby, you only quit Spurs 5 minutes ago, and now you're in the defence with Richie Delac. Sorry, but you brought this on yourself. West Ham, Josh Cullen to Burnley. If Andy Carroll had not failed the medical at Club Bruges, then he would be stuffed in this list, but instead, 26-year-old Irish midfielder Josh Cullen. He just left Belgium and Anderlecht to play under his old boss Vincent Kompany at Burnley. In my eyes, Kompany is a managerial gem, so yes, while this deal might look a bit weird, I'm excited to see what he can do for Cullen. Wolves, Vitinha to PSG. I'm sorry, but questions need to be asked of Wolves' coaching team. You meshed up with Pedro Goncalves, basically ignoring him when he was on your books, and now he's a Sporting in Lisbon and Portuguese international superstar. And it's happened again. You had Vitinha on loan from Porto. You had an option to buy him. But can anyone remember him doing anything of note at Molineux? Now he's a £40 million signing for PSG, with the owners clearly deeming him to be an upgrade on Gini Wijnaldum. You know, a guy who won the Champions League for Liverpool. I mean, who saw this move coming? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below what's been the weird transfers this summer. Let me know if you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe as always. Up to a while.